again, 5th grade. Today we are doing Module 5, Lesson 19. Our objective is to draw kites and squares to clarify their attributes and define kites and squares based on those attributes. So we're going to go straight to our square. And down here, before we start drawing, we need to know the properties. So a square is a quadrilateral, which is a four-sided shape with opposite parallel sides. All sides are equal and all angles are right 90-degree angles. So we're going up here to our workspace. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see better. There we go. Here's our workspace, and we are taking our ruler. And we are going to lay it flat on our workspace. And I'm going to just draw a straight line. And again, we're going to use our set square. And this is going to give us a right angle. So we're going to trace up the side of our set square. And then I'm going to lay my ruler along the top of that set square. And it's going to form a 90-degree angle for me. And it's going to give me a parallel line. So there is the start of my square. And I'm going to go ahead and put a point where these lines are intersecting. And I'm going to measure. And I can see that from the first point to the second point, that line segment is 3 inches. So I'm going to label 3 inches. So I know from this point, I need to draw another 3-inch line segment. Just making sure it's lined up. I put my point. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I need a 3-inch line segment. So I line my ruler up and I mark 3 inches. And there is my second point. Now all I do is connect the dots. And we line those up. And we have a nice square. So we know that all 4 sides are equal to 3 inches. We measured that as we were drawing. In case you didn't see this one, here is 3 inches. And we know that all of these have a right 90-degree angle. So we can label 90-degree angles. And it said it has to have opposite parallel sides. Well, we used our set square to create these two sides. So we made our second set of sides also using that set square. I measured equal distances from the points to the side and I traced my line. These lines should also be parallel. And if I were to set my set square in there, it should be the same size as my set square and parallel lines. So the last thing we need to do is go ahead and fill in our line segments measurements. So this is going to be A, B, C, and D. So line segment AB is equal to 3 inches. Line segment BC is also equal to 3 inches. Line segment CD is equal to 3 inches. And line segment DA is equal to 3 inches. Remember, squares have 4 equal sides. Squares also have 4 right 90-degree angles. So we know the measurement of all 4 angles are equal to 90 degrees. So we can fill in angle DAB, angle ABC, angle BCD, and angle CDA. Again, we add these because a quadrilateral has to have angles that add up to 360 degrees, and 4 9s make 36. And that is how we make a square. And our final quadrilateral is a kite. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can read the properties with me. And there is a word defined at the bottom that's important. So a kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of adjacent equal sides. And by diagonals bisect at 90 degrees. Adjacent means touching sides. So we're going to have sides on top that touch that are equal and sides on bottom that touch that are equal. Adjacent is touching sides. So you'll see more of that as we start drawing here. And we are going to draw a kite very similarly to the way we drew our rhombus. Let me zoom out again. And I have everything labeled on the side for us this time. We are going to start by drawing a straight line down the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and just put a point on my straight line. That is going to be the center. That is going to be where my diagonal lines bisect each other. So, for a kite, we're going to start by using that middle point again. And this time, I am going to measure up 1 inch. So this is at 3 inches. I'm going to go up to 4 and put a hash mark. And I'm going to go down 2 inches. There's 2, there's 1, there is my second hash mark. So these 2 line segments here are not the same distance. There's my top point. There's my bottom point. And then we're going to go ahead and we need to do actually we can use our straight edge for this step. I am going to line my set square up to create a 90-degree angle at that midpoint. So there is my midpoint. I put my set square on it because I know this corner is 90 degrees. The last thing I need to do is line up a straight edge. I don't know if you can see my head or the sticky note. And I'm lining it up, and I'm going to draw a line straight through. And now I have a 90-degree angle in the center. I'll go ahead and label that right now. And I know that this was 1 inch, and I know that this was 2 inches. So on the arms of this, I'm going to go ahead and measure out 1 inch on either side. So right there is the middle of my protractor. It's at 3 inches. So I'm going to go 1 inch to the right. That's at 2. And I'm going to go 1 inch to the left and make a mark at 4. So here are my points. And now we just get to play connect the dot again. And while we do that, we're going to actually measure to save us a step. So I line it up at the very end. Here's 1 inch, here's 2 inches. So this first line segment is actually going to measure 1.5 inches. Which means this line segment, because it is adjacent, it's touching, it said that in our properties that they should be equal. So I should have another 1.5 inch line segment, and if you look at my protractor, here's 1 inch, here's 2, it's right at the middle at 1.5 inches. So again, I'm going to label 1.5 inches. Now we're going to measure the bottom line segments. I line my protractor up on the point, and it's at 0, and we go, here's past 1, here's past 2, here's 2.5, and we're right there at the middle, so we're at 2.25 inches. So this line segment that we're drawing now is 2.25 inches. And that means the adjacent touching line segment at the bottom should look like this. These should be equal. So my other line segment should also be 2.25 inches long. We're going to go ahead and measure just to double check. And right here is my point, and we are at 2.25 inches again. So I'm going to connect my line segment and label it 2.25 inches. And that is our kite. We can go ahead and label, this is A, B, C, D. So line segment AB up here on the right, we're going to fill in our information. It is 1.5 inches. Line segment BC is equal, because they are adjacent, equal line segments. It's 1.5 inches. Line segment CD is 2 1/4 inches. And line segment DA is also 2 1/4 because they are equal adjacent segments. The last thing we need to do is measure our angles. So I'm going to get my protractor here. And we're going to start with DAB. So that is DAB right here. That center is what we're starting with. We line our protractor up, start at 0. And we can see that this one is going way over here. And we're going around. We're past 90 degrees, so it's an obtuse angle. And it's 110 degrees. Next is angle ABC. ABC. And our point is lined up in the middle. Here's our line, and it is not quite to 90. So we're going to call it 85 degrees. That is angle ABC is 85 degrees. And we can label that inside. We're going to continue with angle BCD. I line my protractor up on the middle, and we're following from 0 all the way to where our line intersects. And that is going to go past 90 degrees, so it's an obtuse angle, and it stops at 110 degrees. So angle DAB and angle BCD are equal. And the last one, I can see that it's a smaller angle, so I know it's an acute angle, and that's angle CDA. We line our protractor up on the middle point. And we can see it crosses, it's past 50, not quite to 60. We're going to call it 55 degrees. So we need to add these to make sure we equal 360 degrees. 0, 5, 0, and 5 is 10. 8 and 2 is 10, plus 5 is 15, and 1 more is 16. 1, 1, and 1 is 3. So we got 360 degrees, so we measured correctly. And the last thing we need to do is look at our middle line segments. So we did not label our middle point. I'm going to go ahead and label it E. And segment AE, well, we measured that, and it was 1 inch. And that is equal to EC, which is also 1 inch. Line segment EB is 1 inch. And line segment ED is 2 inches. And that is how we make a kite. Please do your exit ticket.